I'm Mateo, a 25-year-old Uber driver who once believed humiliation was my destiny, until today. I stared into the rearview mirror, sweat dripping down my brow, heart thumping violently, as Ryan, the guy who spent high school making my life miserable, slid into the back seat of my car, completely unaware it was me behind the wheel. The smugness in his voice as he laughed on the phone, mocking drivers like me, twisted my stomach into knots. But fate was cooking up a storm he couldn't see coming. My knuckles turned white, gripping the steering wheel as Ryan barked, "Driver, let's make it quick. Some of us actually have important jobs." His words sliced me like razors, reopening old wounds I thought had healed years ago. He didn't recognize me. Why would he? To him, I was always just a shadow in his glamorous world, easily forgotten. But what neither of us knew in that moment was that life was about to flip everything we knew upside down. Before I reveal what happened next, please take a second to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. It helps more than you realize. See, my story didn't begin with Ryan stepping into my Uber. It began long before that, back when my life revolved around trying to survive each day at home, where money was tight and dignity came with a hefty price tag. Growing up, Mom worked multiple jobs just to put food on our table, while Dad disappeared into bottles night after night, leaving me to pick up the shattered pieces of our family each morning. High school was the place I dreaded most, a playground of cruelty dominated by kids like Ryan Sinclair. Rich, arrogant, effortlessly popular, Ryan tormented anyone he saw as weaker. And me? I was the prime target, the poor kid who never fit in. Ryan made sure everyone knew it too, never letting me forget my place in his twisted hierarchy. But every punchline he threw at me only fueled my resolve to prove everyone, especially Ryan, wrong. When graduation came, I vowed never to cross paths with him again. Yet here he was, years later, lounging arrogantly in my back seat, ignorant of the fact that the man he humiliated now held his fate between two shaky hands on a steering wheel. As Ryan continued his arrogant rant, my phone vibrated furiously in my pocket, a notification that would soon shift the balance of power forever. But before that call changed our destinies, let's rewind to the day I first stepped behind this wheel, dreaming only of escaping poverty and humiliation, because that decision would become the foundation of the moment when life would force Ryan Sinclair to witness something he never imagined possible. Me saving the one person he cherished more than anything, his mother. The first time I ever sat behind the wheel of my Uber, it felt like freedom. Small, but precious. At 21, burdened by debt and driven by desperation, I turned to rideshare to scrape together money for college and ease Mom's worries. Every passenger became another chance to escape the life I was born into. But I never thought I'd see Ryan Sinclair, the ghost from my past, riding shotgun on this journey. That morning was still vivid in my memory, my hands trembling as I logged into the Uber app for the first time, my old battered Toyota rumbling uncertainly beneath me. I barely knew my way around town, let alone how to manage small talk with strangers. But Mom's voice echoed in my head, gentle yet firm. "Mateo, dignity comes from what you make of yourself, not from what others think of you." She was the only constant in my unstable world. Even now, her belief kept me anchored. Passenger after passenger stepped into my car, each leaving me with stories I quietly absorbed. Some were kind, others rude. But I never let myself become bitter, instead finding lessons in each journey, learning patience, resilience, and compassion. Little did I know how crucial these lessons would become in shaping my life. One night, after a particularly long shift, a woman named Elena got in my car, her presence oddly soothing amidst the chaos of city traffic. She asked about my dreams, genuinely interested. It felt strange but liberating to open up to a stranger. "I'm studying to be a paramedic," I confessed quietly. "Driving's just temporary, something to help my mom and me survive. But someday, I want to be able to help people in real emergencies." Elena smiled warmly. "Then keep driving, Mateo. Each ride brings you closer to that goal." I didn't understand her words fully back then, but now, sitting in traffic with Ryan impatiently sighing behind me, her wisdom felt clearer than ever. "You can go faster, you know," Ryan barked suddenly, snapping me back to the present. "Not that you people care about anything beyond your next tip." Biting my tongue, I held back the wave of resentment threatening to crash over me. Ryan was still blind to who was driving him around, oblivious to the bitter irony unfolding. Just then, my phone buzzed again, insistently demanding my attention. At a stoplight, I glanced quickly at the screen and felt my heart skip violently. Emergency alert. Massive accident downtown. All available paramedics requested. Immediate assistance needed. My training kicked in instinctively. Adrenaline surged through my veins. I knew this was my call to action, the moment I'd been preparing for years. But my duty as Ryan's driver held me frozen for a brief, agonizing second. "Hey, are you even listening to me?" Ryan snapped, irritation dripping from his voice. I locked eyes with him through the mirror, taking a deep breath before responding calmly. "There's an emergency, and they need my help." He scoffed loudly. "You're just an Uber driver. Leave it to the professionals." But Ryan Sinclair had no idea how wrong he was. Fate was about to show him, and I was the one who would make him watch it unfold. Ignoring Ryan's sneering comment, I sharply turned onto Fifth Avenue, navigating through the chaotic traffic as my heartbeat pounded relentlessly. "Sorry, but this isn't negotiable. Lives are at stake," I explained firmly, my voice steady despite the turbulence of emotions inside. Ryan groaned dramatically, checking his watch. "Unbelievable. I've got places to be." "Then buckle up," I said quietly, but assertively. My Uber wasn't just a car anymore. It was an ambulance racing against time. The urgency in my tone silenced him temporarily. His smugness slightly deflated as he studied me through the rearview mirror, suspicion forming in his gaze. We arrived at the scene, an intersection transformed into a nightmare of twisted metal and flashing lights. The smell of gasoline and burning rubber assaulted us the moment we stepped out. Emergency crews were scrambling, desperate shouts cutting through the chaos. "Stay in the car," I commanded Ryan. But of course, he ignored me, curiosity drawing him closer to the disaster. Before I could protest, a frantic voice reached me. "Mateo, thank God you're here." It was Alex, my paramedic mentor from training, visibly shaken. "We're overwhelmed, man. There's a woman trapped in the car over there, serious condition." Instinctively, I rushed forward, grabbing my emergency kit from the trunk. Ryan trailed behind me, speechless and bewildered. As I approached the mangled vehicle, I glimpsed inside, and my heart froze. "Mateo," Alex warned gently, "it's critical. You have to act now." My breath caught in my chest as I locked eyes with the unconscious woman inside, someone I never expected. Elena Sinclair, Ryan's mother, her face pale and bruised beneath shattered glass. I glanced quickly at Ryan, whose expression turned from annoyed to stunned horror as he recognized her. "Mom? Oh my God, that's my mother." The panic and fear in Ryan's voice stirred something inside me, a surge of purpose stronger than any resentment I carried against him. In this moment, it didn't matter who he was or what he'd done. All that mattered was saving her life. "Stay back," I ordered firmly, moving quickly to assess Elena's condition. Blood trickled steadily from a deep gash on her forehead, and her breathing was shallow and uneven. As I worked swiftly to stabilize her, the world around us blurred. I placed a cervical collar carefully around her neck, calling out instructions to Alex as we worked together seamlessly. Every second counted. Behind me, Ryan stood frozen, powerless for the first time in his life, forced to witness the person he'd mocked relentlessly now becoming his mother's lifeline. "Mateo," he finally stammered, his voice unrecognizable in its vulnerability. "Please, help her." I turned to him briefly, meeting his pleading eyes with calm determination. "Ryan, I'm going to do everything I can. Trust me." Those words, simple yet powerful, changed something between us. I was no longer just his Uber driver. I had become his only hope. As we lifted Elena carefully onto a stretcher, I felt Ryan's gaze fixed on me, a mixture of guilt, gratitude, and disbelief. The balance of power had shifted dramatically, but I didn't feel triumph. I felt humility, knowing how fragile and precious life truly was. Before we raced to the hospital, I turned to Ryan once more, my voice firm yet compassionate. "You coming?" Without another word, he climbed into the ambulance beside his mother, and in that instant, our worlds collided in a way neither of us would ever forget. The ambulance ride felt eternal, each second stretching into agonizing uncertainty. As Elena's vitals flickered ominously on the monitors, my training took control, keeping panic at bay. Beside me, Ryan sat silently, his normally arrogant posture crumbling beneath the weight of helplessness. For the first time, he was the vulnerable one, relying entirely on me. At the hospital, we rushed Elena into the trauma bay, doctors and nurses surrounding her in a flurry of motion. Ryan stood outside the room, pacing restlessly, his face pale with anxiety. I approached him slowly, hesitant about how he'd react now that adrenaline was fading, replaced by the stark reality of our past. "Mateo," he started, struggling to find words. "I had no idea that I'd become something more than your punching bag," I interjected gently but firmly. "Life has a funny way of flipping roles, doesn't it?" His face flushed with shame. "Look, I was terrible back then. There's no excuse for what I did, but please, my mom." His voice cracked with desperation. "She's all I have." I saw the sincerity in his eyes, raw and undisguised. In that vulnerable moment, resentment softened into empathy. "Ryan, I promise I'm not holding the past against your mom. I'll make sure she's taken care of." He exhaled sharply, a faint relief visible in his slumped shoulders. "Thank you, Mateo. Really." Minutes later, a doctor approached us, her expression solemn. "She's stable, but she sustained a serious head injury. The next 24 hours are critical. You can see her briefly, but be prepared. She's unconscious." Ryan swallowed hard, visibly shaken. "Can you come with me?" he asked quietly, vulnerability dripping from every word. I nodded gently, feeling the full weight of the moment. As we walked into Elena's room, the harsh lights and mechanical hum of medical equipment amplified the gravity of her condition. Seeing her motionless, fragile, beneath layers of medical intervention, hit us both hard. "Mateo," Ryan whispered hoarsely, tears pooling in his eyes. "How did you do it? After everything I've done to you? How could you care about me or her at all?" I placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Because holding on to anger never saved anyone, Ryan. And your mom showed me kindness once. Maybe this is how life comes full circle." He nodded silently, absorbing the truth behind my words. The room became heavy with contemplation, neither of us speaking, just sharing the presence of Elena's quiet breathing. Eventually, a nurse approached, gently asking us to step out. Ryan hesitated, clinging to the moment, terrified to leave her side. "I'll stay close," I reassured him quietly. "I promise." Outside the room, Ryan turned to me, his voice thick with emotion. "Mateo, I owe you more than an apology. You could have let revenge guide you today, but you didn't. You gave me plenty of reasons to," I admitted. "But hate doesn't heal anyone. Forgiveness might." Ryan nodded slowly, visibly changed by the realization. "I don't deserve it, but I won't waste this chance." A quiet pause lingered, charged with unspoken apologies and tentative hope. Just as we both began processing this fragile truce, my phone buzzed again, breaking the moment with urgency. Another emergency. Another reminder that life doesn't pause for reconciliation. But before I rushed away, Ryan touched my arm gently, stopping me. "Mateo, will you come back? Please?" The question hung heavily between us, echoing a request not just for my presence, but for the chance to rewrite our past. "I'll be back," I assured him sincerely, stepping away to face the next crisis, feeling lighter and yet profoundly aware that our intertwined story had only just begun. Days passed, each filled with relentless shifts at the hospital, juggling my paramedic training and Uber driving. Elena's condition improved slowly, the hope in Ryan's eyes growing brighter each time he saw me walk through the hospital doors. Our conversations gradually shifted from guarded apologies to genuine connections, the layers of bitterness melting away. One afternoon, after a long shift, I entered Elena's room to find Ryan sitting quietly beside her, flipping absent-mindedly through old photographs. He looked up, startled yet pleased to see me. "Mateo," he began hesitantly, placing the photos aside. "I've been thinking a lot lately about who I've been and who I want to be." "That's good," I encouraged gently, sensing his sincere struggle with self-reflection. "I don't expect you to forgive me overnight," he continued cautiously, "but I do need you to understand something. The guy who bullied you, that person was scared, insecure. It doesn't justify my actions, but it's the truth." His vulnerability touched me deeply. "Ryan, It takes courage to admit that. We're all shaped by something. Pain, fear, expectations. But it's who we become after recognizing it that matters. He nodded thoughtfully. You know, my mom always told me to treat everyone with kindness because you never know who might change your life. I just never listened. Until now. Elena stirred slightly, eyes fluttering open, startling both of us. Ryan, she murmured weakly, confusion mingling with warmth as she saw her son by her side. Her gaze shifted to me, recognition lighting her tired eyes. Mateo? Is that really you? I smiled warmly. Hey, Elena. Good to see you awake. Ryan told me what you did. She whispered softly, her voice shaking with emotion. You saved me. Thank you. Ryan grasped her hand gently. Mom, Mateo taught me a lot these past few days. More than he needed to, considering how I treated him. I owe him everything. Elena's eyes welled with tears as she looked from Ryan to me, the full circle of our intertwined lives becoming clearer. Life has a funny way of forcing us to learn from each other, doesn't it? I chuckled softly, nodding. Exactly what I said to Ryan. As we laughed quietly together, the harsh memories of the past felt distant, overshadowed by the powerful redemption of this moment. Elena's presence was like an anchor, holding us steady in newfound understanding and forgiveness. Ryan turned suddenly, breaking the thoughtful silence. Mateo, if I could help you somehow, anything you need. You deserve better than just surviving. You deserve to thrive. I hesitated, unsure how to accept his offer, when Elena interjected gently. Mateo, let Ryan help you. Sometimes allowing others to repay kindness is the strongest act of courage. Touched by her wisdom, I finally nodded. Then let's find a way to help each other. Ryan smiled earnestly, visibly relieved. Maybe it's time we all start fresh. And there, within the sterile hospital walls, something powerful shifted permanently. Past animosity giving way to trust, rivalry dissolving into respect. Life had handed me the opportunity to redefine myself, but more importantly, to help someone else do the same. Yet, just as we began forming this unlikely bond, another unexpected challenge loomed on the horizon, threatening everything we'd begun to rebuild. I glanced at my phone, the screen lighting up urgently. A message from the hospital administration demanding an immediate meeting. What awaited me next would test every ounce of my resolve, forcing me to defend not just my own dignity, but also the fragile bond that now connected me, Ryan, and Elena. Hit that subscribe button and let me know your thoughts in the comments. My stomach twisted with anxiety as I entered the hospital administrator's office, a place that always felt cold and sterile. Sitting behind a polished oak desk was Dr. Marcus Reeves, a man known for his stern demeanor and ruthless efficiency. He motioned for me to sit, his expression unreadable. Mateo, Dr. Reeves began, voice curt and clinical. It's been brought to our attention that you responded to a critical emergency while on shift as an Uber driver, not officially authorized as paramedic staff at the time. My heart sank, pulse quickening. Yes, sir. But lives were at stake. I did what anyone with training would have done. His eyes narrowed slightly, the intensity unsettling. Be that as it may, your actions exposed the hospital to liability. The victim's family could sue if something had gone wrong. My mind raced, anger and disbelief rising. The victim's son was in the car with me. He saw everything. He's grateful. He's even willing to speak on my behalf. Ryan Sinclair? Dr. Reeves replied skeptically. His family is influential, Mateo. Their word holds weight, but also significant risk. Realization dawned, a cruel irony forming. The Sinclairs, who'd caused me so much pain in the past, now held my future in their hands once again. I'm sorry, Dr. Reeves concluded briskly, but the board is considering disciplinary action, possibly suspension from your paramedic training. My heart stopped, breath catching painfully. Everything I'd fought for, every sacrifice made, could vanish in an instant. All because I'd chosen to help someone in need. Leaving his office, dread overwhelmed me. Outside in the waiting room, Ryan approached quickly, noticing my shaken expression immediately. What happened, Mateo? You look terrible. They're punishing me, I admitted bitterly, frustration bleeding through. Apparently saving your mom could cost me everything I've worked for. Shock spread across Ryan's face, followed swiftly by indignation. This is insane. I'll talk to them. Tell them you saved my mother's life. They can't do this to you. I shook my head gently. It's complicated, Ryan. Your family has influence, yes, but that might actually make things worse. Ryan hesitated, realizing the delicate balance I was facing. Mateo, I spent years humiliating you, never realizing how strong you really are. But this isn't fair. Let me help fix it. You've already done enough. I reassured him softly. You changed. That's more than I could have ever imagined. But Ryan wasn't ready to back down. Determination hardened his features. Mateo, this isn't just about helping you, it's about making things right. I owe you that much at least. Just then, Elena appeared in the hallway, leaning weakly on a nurse for support. Seeing us both, she stepped forward gently. Mateo, what's happening? Mom, Ryan interjected, voice tight with urgency. They're punishing Mateo for saving your life. We have to stop them. Elena's expression hardened instantly, strength returning in her gaze. Then we'll fight this. Together. Her voice carried quiet authority, reassuring me in ways I hadn't expected. With both Ryan and Elena by my side, hope flickered back into life within me. Perhaps this battle wasn't mine alone anymore. But before we could strategize our next steps, Ryan's phone rang urgently, drawing all our eyes. He answered quickly, expression shifting dramatically as he listened. Mateo, he finally whispered, eyes wide with alarm. Someone leaked your story to the media. It's everywhere, and it's not looking good. My heart plunged again, dread deepening as the stakes soared even higher. The past I thought I'd left behind had returned, now threatening not just my career, but the newfound redemption we had barely begun to build. Within hours, my story had spread like wildfire, plastered across news sites and social media. Headlines shouted accusations, twisted truths, and judgments about my integrity. Uber driver plays hero, but was he qualified? Read one particularly biting article, twisting my selfless action into reckless ambition. Ryan paced anxiously in Elena's hospital room, scrolling furiously through comments that ranged from supportive to viciously critical. Elena, still weak but resilient, watched him with a calm strength that reminded me of why I had taken this path in the first place. You saved a life, Elena said firmly, breaking the tense silence. No matter what anyone says, that truth stands. But it might ruin his career, Ryan argued bitterly. Because of me, Mateo's entire future is hanging by a thread. I intervened gently. Ryan, blaming yourself won't solve this. We need a plan, not guilt. He sighed heavily, frustration evident. The media's painting you as reckless. How do we fight back against that? As I pondered his question, my phone buzzed insistently again. A call from a local news reporter, the fourth today. This time I hesitated only briefly before picking up. Mateo Ramirez speaking. The reporter's voice was crisp and insistent. Mr. Ramirez, we'd like to hear your side of this story. People are calling you both a hero and a fraud. What's your response? I paused, weighing my next words carefully. I didn't think about liability or headlines when I acted. I saw someone in danger and did exactly what I was trained to do. If saving lives makes me reckless, I'll accept that label. The reporter paused, clearly surprised by my honesty. Would you be willing to give a live interview tomorrow to tell your story directly to the public? My heart quickened. Speaking publicly terrified me, but this was my chance to reclaim my narrative. Yes, I replied firmly. I'll do it. Ryan stared at me anxiously after I hung up. Are you sure, Mateo? Going public could backfire. Or it could be exactly what we need, Elena countered calmly. People love honesty, and you're the most authentic person I know, Mateo. Trust yourself. Her confidence bolstered mine, pushing away the lingering doubts. It's time the world knows the real story, not the sensationalized headlines. And Ryan, I added gently, turning to him, I'll need you there too. He nodded earnestly, determination flaring. Absolutely. I'll tell everyone exactly what you did and who you really are. The following morning arrived swiftly, nerves swirling inside me as cameras blinked to life. Sitting beside Ryan on the news studio's sleek white sofa, I took a steadying breath. Millions were about to hear my truth. As the host began asking pointed questions, Ryan spoke first, his voice steady and sincere. Mateo Ramirez saved my mother's life when no one else could. He acted selflessly, heroically, not recklessly. The host turned to me directly, curiosity glinting in her eyes. Mateo, tell us, what drove you to help despite risking your own career? I paused, meeting Ryan's encouraging gaze. Because at the end of the day, life is precious. I knew the risks, but saving someone mattered more than fear or consequences. The honesty of my words resonated. Silence stretching powerfully before the host finally responded, visibly moved. Your courage is remarkable, yet you've faced backlash. How do you handle it? I smiled faintly, emotion raw but genuine. With gratitude. Every hardship brought me here, shaping me into someone capable of making tough decisions. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. The segment ended to enthusiastic applause from the crew. Ryan squeezed my shoulder proudly. You nailed it, Mateo. But even as relief washed over me, another notification buzzed urgently on my phone, a message from the hospital board. My heart lurched, realizing my fate was finally decided. The moment of truth had arrived. Would courage and honesty truly prevail, or was everything I'd fought for about to crumble beneath me? If you're as invested as I am, hit subscribe and comment below with your thoughts. My hands shook slightly as I opened the message from the hospital board, dread pooling heavily in my stomach. Ryan leaned in close, his eyes filled with anxiety and hope. The email was succinct but devastatingly clear. Mr. Ramirez, after careful consideration, we regret to inform you that your training at this facility will be suspended pending further review. The circumstances surrounding your recent actions require deeper investigation. We appreciate your cooperation and patience during this process. My heart sank, a crushing wave of disappointment threatening to pull me under. Ryan's eyes widened in disbelief, anger flaring visibly in his expression. This isn't right, Mateo. How could they punish you for saving someone? Elena reached out gently, placing her hand reassuringly on my arm. Mateo, don't lose faith. This setback doesn't define you. I nodded, fighting to steady my voice. I knew there might be consequences, but it still hurts. Ryan's determination surged back fiercely. We'll fight this, together. They need to know they're wrong. Before I could respond, another urgent notification flashed across my phone, pulling my attention sharply. A crowdfunding campaign had been launched in my name titled, Stand with Mateo, the Uber hero punished for saving a life. In mere hours, thousands had already donated, flooding comments with heartfelt support. Emotion swelled within me, this time, not fear, but overwhelming gratitude. The world had seen the truth and was rallying behind me. Ryan, I whispered, stunned. Look at this. He leaned over, amazement spreading across his face. People are standing up for you, Mateo. They're fighting back. Tears threatened to spill, my vision blurred slightly. Elena squeezed my hand gently, smiling warmly. Mateo, you've inspired others by being exactly who you are. Brave, compassionate, genuine. The board might suspend you temporarily, but public opinion could change their decision. Ryan jumped up, energy surging. We need to use this momentum. Tell your story again, louder, clearer. Force them to hear you. With newfound resolve, I agreed. Over the next several days, interviews poured in, support surged higher, and my story grew beyond headlines. It became a movement. But the hospital board remained silent, refusing to acknowledge the mounting pressure. Then, one evening, while visiting Elena, Dr. Reeves appeared at her hospital door, expression severe, yet contemplative. Mateo, we need to speak privately. My stomach tightened, but I nodded resolutely, following him into a quiet conference room. He faced me directly, eyes unreadable. The public clearly sees you as a hero, he began slowly, voice measured. But as administrators, we have strict rules we must uphold. Your actions blurred necessary boundaries. I met his gaze steadily. I understand, Dr. Reeves, but if you suspend me, you're punishing compassion, something healthcare desperately needs. He sighed deeply, conflict evident. Mateo, the board wants a formal hearing. Your future as a paramedic depends on your testimony. If you convince them, your suspension will be lifted. Hope sparked fiercely inside me. When is this hearing? In 3 days. But Mateo, understand this clearly. Your words must resonate deeply. Convince them your actions embody the very values our institution strives to uphold. I will, I promised confidently, determination firm in my voice. Walking back into Elena's room, Ryan's eyes questioned me anxiously. Well? I smiled, renewed strength coursing through me. I have one chance to speak my truth, and I'll make every word count. Ryan nodded approvingly. Then we'll help you prepare. Your voice needs to shake the entire board into action. As we stood together, I realized something profound. The boy who once humiliated me had become my fiercest ally. Life had indeed flipped our story, and now it was my turn to rewrite the ending, one powerful word at a time. The morning of the hearing, I woke with determination throbbing like a heartbeat in my chest. Every obstacle I'd faced had led me to this moment, a culmination of my struggle against humiliation, poverty, and now bureaucracy itself. Ryan waited nervously outside the boardroom door, pacing restlessly as Elena sat quietly nearby, offering silent strength with her gentle smile. "You've got this, Mateo," Ryan encouraged firmly, gripping my shoulder reassuringly. "Tell them the truth and show them your heart. They'll see what everyone else already knows." Taking a steadying breath, I stepped into the room. Seated before me were the hospital board members, their expressions unreadable behind polished professionalism. Dr. Reeves nodded briefly, signaling me to begin. "My name is Mateo Ramirez," I started confidently, meeting each gaze directly. "You already know why I'm here, but I want you to understand who I am and why I chose to act that day." I paused briefly, gathering strength from the silence. I didn't become a paramedic to simply follow rules. I did it because I wanted to save lives. Growing up, I was humiliated for being poor, powerless. I saw suffering firsthand, knew helplessness intimately. And when Ryan's mother lay trapped, I couldn't just watch. My decision wasn't reckless. It was human. The room remained intensely silent, absorbing my honesty. Dr. Reeves leaned forward slightly, prompting carefully. "Mateo, rules exist to protect people. Your actions risked liability." I nodded firmly, not wavering. "Rules are necessary, yes, but so is compassion, bravery, qualities your hospital promotes. I chose humanity over bureaucracy, action over hesitation, and if you punish me for that, you're sending a clear message that compassion isn't valuable here." Another board member, a woman with sharp, probing eyes, spoke softly. "Mateo, your actions inspired thousands, but were you truly prepared to face potential consequences?" I responded earnestly. "Every decision has consequences, but saving a life will always outweigh personal risk. The world recognizes that truth. Do you?" Silence fell again, thoughtful, charged with possibility. Dr. Reeves finally spoke, voice softer now, reflective. "Mateo, your testimony is compelling, but we must deliberate. Please wait outside." I stepped out, heart pounding fiercely, uncertainty clawing at the edges of my confidence. Ryan approached immediately, voice anxious yet hopeful. "How'd it go?" "I spoke my truth," I replied quietly. "Now we wait." Minutes stretched painfully until finally the door opened again. Dr. Reeves stood solemnly, unreadable once more. "Mateo," he began slowly, each word weighted. "The board unanimously decided that, although your methods were unconventional, your courage exemplifies precisely the spirit of healthcare we want to nurture here. Your suspension is lifted immediately." A surge of pure joy flooded me, relief and gratitude nearly overwhelming. Ryan cheered, wrapping me tightly in an embrace of brotherhood, while Elena clapped softly, tears shimmering. "Thank you," I managed, voice thick with emotion. "You won't regret this." "I believe we already don't," Dr. Reeves responded, allowing a rare smile. As we celebrated briefly, my phone buzzed once again, a notification flashing urgently. "Mateo, your story reached even bigger ears. There's a network wanting to feature your journey in a documentary." Shock mingled swiftly with excitement. My humble story, once marked by shame, now shone brightly, inspiring hope and compassion on a scale I never imagined. Ryan smiled proudly, sensing my disbelief. "Mateo, your journey isn't over. It's just getting started." And as I stood there, gratitude radiating through me, I finally understood how profoundly life could shift. Humiliation turning into honor, an enemy becoming a friend, and a seemingly insignificant decision shaping an extraordinary destiny. A few weeks later, cameras surrounded me as I stood near my Uber, the once humble vehicle now symbolic of an extraordinary journey. Filming the documentary felt surreal, every question prompting deep reflection about how drastically my life had shifted. The director, a compassionate woman named Ava, smiled warmly. "Matteo, you went from being humiliated to becoming a celebrated hero. How has this changed you personally?" I paused thoughtfully, the sunlight catching my face as memories flooded back. It showed me that every moment, no matter how painful, can build strength. Humiliation taught me empathy, hardship taught resilience, and forgiveness taught healing. Off camera, Ryan watched quietly, pride evident in his supportive gaze. Ava noticed and gently asked, "Ryan, you once played a painful role in Matteo's life. What does this redemption mean to you?" Ryan stepped forward slowly, sincerity clear in his voice. "Matteo taught me humility and courage. Watching him save my mother didn't just change my opinion, it transformed my heart." Emotion tightened my throat as Ava continued thoughtfully. "Matteo, do you think everyone deserves forgiveness?" I met Ryan's eyes briefly, connection deepening. Everyone deserves the opportunity to earn forgiveness. It's a powerful gift, for both giver and receiver. The day wrapped up, leaving me feeling profoundly grateful. Elena joined us afterward, looking strong and vibrant again, her recovery a living testament to second chances. She hugged me warmly, whispering gently, "Matteo, I always knew you'd achieve greatness. I'm proud of you." Her words deeply touched me, a quiet acknowledgement of a journey shared not just by me, but by everyone whose lives intersected mine. But as I was basking in newfound peace, my phone buzzed once again. Another urgent message. "Matteo, your father reached out. He saw your documentary promo and wants to reconnect." My breath caught sharply. Dad had abandoned us years ago, choosing addiction over family. His absence left deep scars, yet here he was, resurfacing during my brightest moment. Ryan noticed my sudden discomfort immediately. "Matteo, everything okay?" I hesitated before quietly revealing, "It's my dad." After years of silence, he wants back into my life. Concern shadowed Ryan's expression, mingled with cautious support. "Do you want to see him?" "I honestly don't know," I admitted softly. "He caused a lot of pain." Elena gently squeezed my shoulder. "Matteo, you've handled so much with grace already. Maybe facing him could be your final step toward peace." Her words resonated deeply, stirring courage within me. Perhaps forgiveness, the powerful gift I'd spoken about earlier, needed to extend even further, to the person who hurt me most deeply. Days later, I stood anxiously at a small cafe, waiting nervously. The man who walked in was older, weary, haunted by years of regret. My heart tightened painfully as his eyes met mine, recognizing instantly. "Matteo," he whispered shakily, voice choked with raw emotion, "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I desperately need it." My chest ached with years of accumulated hurt, yet looking into his tired, remorseful eyes, something shifted inside me profoundly. "Dad," I finally said, voice steady yet gentle, "everyone deserves the opportunity to earn forgiveness. Let's start there." As we sat, quietly beginning to rebuild a bond broken by time and mistakes, I realized my journey wasn't simply about overcoming humiliation. It was about embracing every painful moment as a chance to transform, not just myself, but the world around me. But just when healing felt within reach, another unexpected message flashed urgently across my phone, shattering the fragile peace we had begun to build. "Matteo, something's wrong. Ryan's missing, and nobody knows where he is." A cold dread pierced my heart instantly, plunging me back into chaos and uncertainty. My journey, it seemed, was far from over. The words "Ryan's missing" echoed violently in my mind, slicing through the fragile calm I'd only just begun to rebuild. I sprang up from the cafe seat, adrenaline flooding my body. "Dad, I have to go," I stammered, barely processing his stunned expression before rushing out. My hands trembled as I dialed Elena. She picked up instantly, her voice brittle with panic. "Matteo, he's not answering his phone. He said he was going to handle something. Something important. and then he vanished. Handle what? I pressed urgently. She hesitated. I don't know. He mentioned something about making things right, but he wouldn't explain. I hung up, my mind spinning. Ryan was impulsive, but he wasn't reckless. Whatever making things right meant, it sounded dangerous. Frantically, I pulled up his last Uber trip on a location-sharing app we'd activated weeks ago during Elena's recovery. The map blinked, loading slowly, then revealed his last pinned location. An industrial area on the edge of town, abandoned warehouses, no traffic, no lights. My gut twisted. No, I muttered, gripping the wheel. This isn't good. Speeding toward the address, memories flooded back. Memories of who Ryan used to be, and the man he was trying so desperately to become. I couldn't lose him now, not when he'd fought so hard to be better, not when I had finally let myself believe that change was real. As I pulled up to the desolate site, the eerie silence confirmed my worst fears. I stepped out cautiously, scanning the area. Broken windows, rusted fences, no sign of movement. Then I heard it, a muffled shout. "Ryan?" I called out, my voice echoing sharply. "Mateo!" A strained voice answered, faint but desperate. "Over here!" I sprinted toward the sound, rounding the corner of a crumbling building, and there he was, Ryan, his wrists zip-tied, leaning against a metal pole, bruised but alive. Ryan, what happened?" "Mateo, it's stupid," he panted. "I tried to pay off a guy. I owed money from back when I was a different person. Thought I could finally close that chapter. But his voice broke. They weren't interested in money. They wanted leverage. And I walked right into it. I quickly sliced through the zip ties with a pocket knife I carried for emergencies. "Ryan, you idiot," I breathed, my voice tight with both anger and relief. "You should have told me." "Yeah," he admitted weakly. "I thought I could fix it without dragging anyone else into it." As I helped him to his feet, headlights suddenly flared at the far end of the alley. A black SUV crept toward us menacingly. "Stay behind me," I hissed, scanning quickly for anything to use as defense. The SUV stopped abruptly. The doors swung open, and to my surprise, 2 police officers stepped out. "Mateo Ramirez?" one asked. "Yeah? We received an anonymous tip about suspicious activity here." The officer glanced at Ryan, then at me. "Looks like it was a good one." Ryan sagged with relief. "Mateo, did you?" I shook my head. No idea who tipped them. The officers detained the men responsible, who were still lurking in the shadows nearby. As the cuffs clicked, one of them muttered, "You got lucky, Sinclair." With the danger past, Ryan slumped down on the curb, holding his bruised ribs. "Mateo, I'm sorry, man. I really thought I was done with this part of my life." I sat beside him, exhaustion and adrenaline battling inside me. "Ryan, nobody escapes their past completely. But facing it, that's how you prove you've changed." He nodded slowly, wiping a tear. "You saved me. Again." I placed a hand on his shoulder, gripping it firmly. "That's what brothers do." As we sat there beneath the flashing red and blue lights, watching the past finally get dragged away in handcuffs, I realized something powerful. The journey wasn't about outrunning your past. It was about confronting it, head on, and choosing to write a different future. But just as peace seemed within reach again, my phone buzzed with another message. "Mateo, urgent. Something's happened at the hospital. Call me back now." My heart clenched. Another storm was brewing, and it wasn't over yet. If this story's gripping your heart, hit subscribe and drop a comment below. I barely finished reading the message before dialing back. My fingers trembled as the hospital line rang. Finally, a voice answered. Nurse Marcy, one of the kindest souls in the ER. "Mateo," she blurted breathlessly. "It's Elena. She collapsed. They brought her into the ER a few minutes ago." My stomach twisted. "What? What happened?" "She started having chest pains. Serious ones. Doctors are running tests, but you should come, now." No more words were needed. I jumped to my feet. "Ryan," I called urgently. "It's your mom. Something's wrong. We need to go, now." His face drained of color instantly. "No, no, no, no," he murmured, voice cracking. "Not her, not after everything." We raced to the car. The drive felt endless. Every red light an insult to the fear gnawing at us both. Neither of us spoke. There was nothing to say. The only sound was Ryan's shallow, shaky breaths as he stared at the dashboard, fists clenched white-knuckled. Pulling into the hospital, we sprinted through the sliding doors, nearly knocking over a receptionist. Marcy spotted us and waved us over. "She's in room 2. Stable, but it's serious. Possible cardiac arrest, but we're running full diagnostics." Ryan's legs almost gave out, but I grabbed him, holding him steady. "We've come too far, Ryan," I said firmly. "She's strong. She's going to fight." We rushed into the room, and there she was, Elena, pale, eyes closed, a tangle of monitors, IVs, and oxygen tubes surrounding her like a fragile web. "Mom!" Ryan choked out, gripping her hand tightly. "Please, not now. Not when we're finally okay." A doctor entered, scanning her charts. He glanced up at us, his expression measured but serious. "She's experiencing severe stress-induced cardiomyopathy. It's sometimes called broken heart syndrome. Given her recent accident, her body's been under relentless strain." Is she going to make it?" Ryan asked, voice hollow. The doctor sighed. "She's stable for now, but the next 12 hours are critical." Ryan collapsed into the chair beside her, head in his hands. I stood beside him, feeling helpless, but unwilling to let despair swallow me. "She fought through that accident," I reminded him quietly. "She'll fight through this." Ryan lifted his head, red-eyed but determined. "I can't lose her, Mateo. She's all I've got left." I squeezed his shoulder. "She's not leaving. Not on our watch." Suddenly, the beeping monitor spiked. Nurses rushed in. The doctor shouted orders. "Elena, stay with us!" One nurse yelled, adjusting oxygen levels. Ryan froze in horror. "No! No! Mom!" I grabbed his arm, forcing him to focus. "Ryan, listen to me. We don't panic. We fight. With her. Right now." Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, "Please, please, Mom. Don't leave me." Minutes stretched into eternities. The medical team worked tirelessly, stabilizing her rhythm. Finally, the spikes smoothed. The frantic pace slowed, and her eyes fluttered open. "Ryan," she croaked weakly. "Mateo." Ryan immediately gripped her hand again, breaking into sobs. "I'm here, Mom. I'm here." She smiled faintly, eyes glassy but filled with love. "You boys always finding trouble together?" A broken laugh burst from Ryan through his tears. Yeah, we do." The doctor nodded, relieved. "She's not out of the woods yet, but this is a good sign." As the crisis ebbed, exhaustion overtook us, but relief softened the edges of fear. Sitting beside her, holding her hand, I realized something deeper than ever. Family isn't always who you're born to. It's who you fight for, who fights for you. And somewhere along this chaotic, painful road, Ryan and Elena had become mine. But as the night stretched on, I glanced down at my phone. Another message. "Mateo, we need to talk. Something's come up about your father. And it's serious." One storm was passing, but another was closing in fast. Staring at my phone, I felt the chill of dread creep down my spine. The message was from Officer Daniels, the same officer who responded when Ryan had been kidnapped. "Mateo, your father's involved in something serious. We need you at the station. Urgent." I didn't have time to process. I glanced at Ryan, who sat beside Elena's bed, his head resting on her hand as she drifted in and out of sleep. For a moment, I considered not telling him. He had enough on his shoulders. But then his eyes opened, instantly locking on my expression. "What happened?" I sighed, debating, but honesty won. "It's my dad. Something serious. The police need me." Ryan sat up straight, his jaw clenching. "I'm coming with you." "Ryan, no more secrets. No more running from the past. We face this stuff together now." His words hit me deep. A brotherhood forged through pain, redemption, and now, loyalty. I nodded. "Okay, let's go." The drive to the station was tense. Neither of us spoke much. When we arrived, Officer Daniels greeted us with a grim look. "Mateo, thanks for coming. Your father, he's been arrested." My breath caught. "Arrested? For what?" Daniels sighed, glancing at the file in his hands. "Fraud. Identity theft. A small criminal ring. Stealing identities, forging documents, draining accounts. Your father's been under investigation for months." We didn't reach out sooner because, well, we thought he was estranged." Ryan swore under his breath, pacing. I shook my head in disbelief. He wanted to reconnect. He said he wanted to make things right. Daniel's face softened slightly. I believe part of him probably did. But addiction, debt, bad decisions, they pull people back in. He was desperate. I clenched my fists, emotions swirling. Anger, sadness, disappointment, betrayal. "Can I see him?" Daniels nodded. "Yeah, he's asking for you." In the holding area, I stepped into the interview room. There he was, my father, gaunt, hollow-eyed, his hands cuffed to the table. "Mateo," his voice cracked. I didn't want you to find out like this." I stared at him, emotions surging uncontrollably. "Why? Why reach out now if you were still doing this?" His head hung low. "I was drowning, son. Thought maybe if I saw you, remembered who I used to be, I could climb out. I didn't expect to get caught." "And what? You wanted me to help clean up the mess?" My voice was sharper than I intended, but years of pain demanded release. "No," he whispered, shaking his head fiercely. "I wanted you to know. I never stopped being proud of you, even when I ruined everything. You became everything I couldn't." His words hit me like a punch. My chest tightened painfully. "Mateo," he continued, voice shaking, "you taught me something without knowing it, that you can break the cycle, that you don't have to become your mistakes." Silence stretched between us, heavy, suffocating. "I forgive you," I finally whispered. "Not because you deserve it, but because I do. I won't carry this anymore." Tears flooded his eyes as his head dropped into his cuffed hands, sobbing silently. I left the room, my legs weak but my soul lighter. Ryan stood waiting, watching me with quiet understanding. "Everything okay?" he asked softly. "No," I admitted. "But it will be." Ryan nodded. "Let's go home." As we stepped back into the night, I realized home wasn't just a place. It was the people who stood with you when everything else fell apart. And though my father was broken and his choices left scars, I wouldn't let his darkness define me. But just as I started the car, Ryan's phone buzzed and his face went pale. "What is it?" I asked instantly. He swallowed hard, his voice low. "Mateo, there's been an accident at the hospital. Elena, she's missing." My hands gripped the wheel tighter as cold dread surged through me once more. The fight was far from over. "Missing?" I echoed, my voice barely more than a whisper as the air left my lungs. "Ryan, what do you mean missing?" His hands trembled as he stared at his phone screen, reading the message again as if hoping the words would change. "The hospital. They sent out an alert. Apparently Elena's bed was empty during the last nurse check. No discharge orders, no transport, nothing. She's gone." I slammed my hands against the steering wheel. "How does someone just disappear from a hospital? We need to get there. Now." Ryan's voice was brittle, strained, but resolute. The drive felt like a nightmare. Stoplights blurred, roads stretched longer than physics should allow. Ryan stared straight ahead, his leg bouncing uncontrollably. His silence screamed louder than words. When we arrived, the chaos was immediate. Nurses scrambled through hallways, security officers talked into radios, and the head nurse waved frantically at us when she saw us sprint toward the nurses' station. "Ryan, Mateo, this isn't supposed to happen," she stammered. "We had her stabilized. She was resting. Then a nurse went in to check her vitals and she was gone." "Check security footage," I demanded. "Start there." "We already pulled it," she replied, biting her lip. You should come see." She led us to the security room, where a grainy black and white video played. My heart stopped as we watched. At exactly 2:13 a.m., a man, tall, dressed in orderly scrubs with a mask, entered Elena's room. He disconnected her IV, placed a blanket over her, and carefully wheeled her bed right out of the room. Not hurried, not panicked. Calm, professional, planned. Ryan gasped. Who the hell is that?" I narrowed my eyes, studying the figure. His face was obscured, but something about his gait, his posture, felt unsettlingly familiar. The camera switched angles, showing the figure pushing the bed through a back hallway toward the service exit. Then, Static. The footage cut out. "What happened to the feed?" I barked. "We don't know," the security guard admitted. "System glitched, or someone made it glitch." A sinking feeling swirled in my gut. This wasn't random. This wasn't some confused patient wander-off. Someone took Elena. Someone with intent. Ryan's fists slammed the desk. "Why? Who would do this?" Just then, my phone buzzed. A private number. I answered without hesitation. "Hello?" A distorted voice filtered through, mechanical, warped. "If you want to see her alive, don't call the cops. You'll wait for instructions." The line went dead. Ryan stared at me, eyes wide, terror mixing with rage. "Was that?" I nodded grimly. "Yeah." "Mateo, who would do this?" My mind raced. "It could be tied to your past, to mine, or maybe someone saw the documentary, saw Elena's story, saw your name. Maybe they think there's money, or maybe it's revenge." Ryan clenched his fists. "We're getting her back, no matter what it takes." I gripped his shoulder firmly. Together. The hospital security guard glanced between us, hesitant. Do you want me to call the police anyway?" I shook my head. "Not yet. Not until we know who we're dealing with." The next move was ours. But what neither Ryan nor I realized was that this wasn't just a kidnapping. This was the collision point of every mistake, every enemy, and every consequence we thought we'd left behind, and it was about to explode. The message came at sunrise. A simple text. "Abandon Marina. Come alone. Bring Ryan. No cops. You have 1 hour." Ryan paced, fists clenching and unclenching. "This is insane. Who does this?" I stared at the screen, then back at him. "People who think they can still control us. People who think we're the same scared kids we used to be. But what if?" He paused, breath trembling. "What if they hurt her?" I gripped his shoulder hard. "Then we make damn sure they regret ever thinking they could." We left immediately, speeding toward the marina. A broken stretch of collapsed docks, rusted boats, and hollow warehouses. As we pulled in, my stomach tightened. A black SUV sat idling near one of the crumbling piers. A masked man stood beside it, tall, broad-shouldered, arms folded like he owned the world. Ryan whispered under his breath, "You recognize him?" "Not yet," I muttered, stepping out, keeping my posture calm. "Where is she?" I demanded. The man laughed, low, cruel. "Relax, she's fine, for now." Ryan stepped forward, fire blazing in his voice. "If you touched her..." The man held up a hand. "Easy, Sinclair, this isn't personal." "Then what is it?" I snapped. He tilted his head. "Simple. You embarrassed the wrong people. Your little sob story, the hero Uber driver, the Sinclair heir-turned-media darling. People you heard on the way up want to remind you where you came from." My chest tightened. "Who sent you?" "Let's just say," he sneered, "your father, Mateo, owes more than just apologies." Ryan's face drained. "Wait, this is about Mateo's dad?" The man smiled darkly. "Your father crossed a syndicate, real money, real consequences. Thought reconnecting with his hero son would wipe the slate clean. But debts don't disappear, they transfer." Ice flooded my veins. "So you took Elena? To punish me?" "Smart kid," he nodded. "Simple deal. You come with me, work off his debt, or we send Elena somewhere nobody finds." A scream pierced the air. Both Ryan and I spun. From inside the SUV, Elena. "Mateo! Ryan!" Rage exploded in my chest. Without thinking, I lunged. The man reached for his belt, but before he could grab anything, Ryan tackled him sideways. Fists flew. Adrenaline blurred everything. I rushed to the SUV, yanking open the door. Elena was there, tied, but alive. Her eyes widened. "Mateo! Hang on!" I gasped, slicing through the restraints with my pocket knife. "We've got you!" Behind me, Ryan landed a brutal punch, sending the man sprawling. But the guy recovered fast, grabbing a crowbar from the truck bed. "Ryan, move!" I shouted. Too late. The crowbar swung. Crack. Ryan stumbled, clutching his shoulder, groaning in pain, but he stayed standing. That was enough time. A shout came from behind us, sirens. Flashing lights flooded the marina. Police swarmed in, guns raised. "Drop it! Now!" The man froze. Realizing it was over, he dropped the crowbar, hands in the air. Ryan sagged against the truck, breathing hard. I helped Elena out, shielding her as officers stormed in. Officer Daniels sprinted over, panting. "You two have got to stop living like action movies." I almost laughed. Almost. "How'd you know?" Daniels pointed to his radio. "Hospital tipped us off. Saw you leave looking like you were heading into a war zone. Smartest dumb move you've ever made." Paramedics checked Elena and Ryan. She was shaken, but alive. Ryan, dislocated shoulder, but grinning like a lunatic. As the man was shoved into the back of a cruiser, I walked over, staring him down. "Tell whoever sent you. The cycle ends here. I'm done carrying my father's mistakes." The guy sneered but stayed silent. Back at the hospital, Elena recovered quickly. Ryan's arm would heal. But what mattered most wasn't physical. It was knowing finally that we weren't prisoners of our past. Sitting together by Elena's bedside, Ryan, her, and me, we realized something profound. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who stands beside you when the world tries to break you. Ryan turned to me, smiling softly. "Mateo, I used to humiliate you. Thought you were beneath me. But you saved my mom. You saved me. You saved all of us." I nodded, tears prickling. "And you proved to me that even the worst people can change, if they choose to." Elena squeezed both our hands. "This isn't the end, boys. It's the beginning." And as I looked at them, my unlikely family, I knew she was right. The past didn't define us. We did. If this story touched you, hit subscribe, smash that like button, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Thank you for riding this journey with me.